if all goes well and if I stuck to the promise I made myself, then today is my birthday because I wanted to release my comeback video on my birthday. So today I am 34 years old. That's really weird to say actually because I'm not there yet. So it's like I'm living in the future. Just looking on my window, and it's been kind of hard adjusting to the daylight saving change, but I'm loving that it's like 6:42 right now and it's still daylight out. So self-compassion is a piece that I've really been sitting with in these past months. Life's been relatively good, but I don't know if this is relatable, but I feel like I'm always striving. I'm constantly looking for the next thing. And I know that everything is in the now, but that drive, that calling, that pattern of looking into the future, because that uncertainty just freaks me out, that has been something that's come up for me as well. And I watched a film recently called The Fountain by Darren Aronofsky. I had previously tried to watch this movie twice. It came out a long time ago, but it kind of went over my head. I don't know, I think I fell asleep in it. But this time, it kind of did a number on me. Basically, the theme deals a lot with mortality, loss of love, gripping onto a reality that we wish to have and not being able to surrender. And as someone that has always fought kicking and screaming of any change, big change, yet it's been that constant signature of my life, for better or worse, whether it's out of my control or created by me. I've just moved around a lot. I've had so many different jobs. I've had a lot of different relationships. My life just feels like it's constantly changing and shifting. And I wonder, I don't even know what it feels like for those that have lived in the same place their whole life, or just relatively, had the same group of friends, close to their family. Things just feels like the ground beneath you is steady all the time. I don't know if anyone feels that way, actually. Feel free to let me know if you actually feel this way. You might be an odd one out, but I'd love to know what that's like, because I have no idea. People say that at the core of all of our fear is death, impermanence. And something that I've been contemplating about a lot is what scares me the most about dying. For me, is having regrets at the 11th hour. Basically, it's this quote that I've half made up. I want to live my life in such a way that at the 11th hour, I do not wish for a time machine. I want to be on my last breath and not run through all the things I wish I could change that I cannot. And on a tangent here, something that I think I've always loved science fiction film, but most specifically ones that has to do with time travel, parallel realities, multiple timelines, because there is something so precious about a past that is frozen in time that we can no longer touch, that even the reality of what occurred in the past is now tainted by time, by memory loss, or it's been modified in our minds. We don't remember things as they were. We remember them as the stories that we made up. I think it's so fascinating, and it's just, we cannot reach back and touch the things that has happened. I can't even reach back and touch the last moment. Yet it resonates or vibrates all the way to the now, and it will continue to for our future. And this is something that I've also talked about before, which is that we cannot reach back and change the past literally, but all the things that we perceive that have happened in the past no longer matters. The only thing that matters is the stories that we've made about those things that happened and how those stories affect us, on ourselves, on life, on reality, on our future, on what we deserve and what we don't, what we want and what we believe we cannot have. So having the ability to rewrite the past is available to all of us. You literally just change the story in your head. Now, it's not as easy as I'm making it sound, but that is the truth. That is the fundamental truth. You know, when like a relationship ends, and maybe it wasn't that great of a relationship either, maybe there was a lot of ups and downs and you fought a bunch, and at some point you just said, I can't do this anymore, it's time to call it quits. Yet maybe 6 months later, a year later, you look back and you remember all the fond moments. Everything has that rose tinted glasses filter on it. And a part of you knows this is not how things were. If you really tried harder, you could remember all the times you were crying on the floor, all the times you were so frustrated, feeling unheard and unseen, yet somehow the story we can tell ourselves in this moment is how wonderful everything was, how sentimental I feel, how special the connection was. This applies to anything and everything that has happened in the past. So it is a choice, I think, that we have. Lately, I've been realizing that I haven't been able to sit and just feel my feelings. It's like anytime something challenging happens, something shocking happens, I might panic for 5 minutes, and then unconsciously, this is happening automatically. It's as if all these feelings get shoved into a box, locked up, tossed into the bottom of a lake, and then I cannot access it anymore. And I know that it gets stuck in me, but I can't even excavate it. I can't touch it because in my experience of it, I feel fine. Everything feels normal. And then, it'll be like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month that I start to feel this inkling of discomfort. And that's when I start to realize that that thing that hit me, the thing that shocked me, or I don't want to say traumatized me, but something that affected me didn't leave. It wasn't that I got over it so quickly. My defense mechanism just made it so easy to automatically, without me thinking, without my desire or intent, because I don't want to stuff it away. I want to be able to sit with it. But because I've ran away from it so many times before, I've shut down the discomfort, I've abandoned myself so many times before, that my body learned to just push it all down, to repress it whenever something like this come up. So I used to make 3-year, 5-year, 10-year plans. Maybe not 10-year, but at least I used to make short-term and long-term goals. In my, I'd say, late 20s, mid to late 20s, I was traveling full time, making videos. I had all these goals. I had like monthly goals, quarterly goals, annual goals. And I remember thinking to myself, like, oh, by the time I'm 30, I'll have this and this and this and then this. Like, that's how my life will look like. And of course, I think my 30th birthday was 2021, I want to say, midst of COVID. Nothing was how I imagined it would be. And I didn't even realize it, but I think because a lot of things didn't turn out the way that I had hoped that they would, I became fearful of imagining a future because I had seen it not turn out the way that I thought it would. And having to go back to the drawing board and restart again and again and again, whether it's a career, whether it's where I live, whether it's relationships. When I try to sit with myself and ask myself, where do you see yourself in 5 years, which I'll be almost 40. That's wild. It scares me. It freaks me out. I'm so afraid. I'm so scared. Okay, I just had to pop on here because I'm editing my video right now, and I got to the part where I was being pretty vulnerable about feeling so scared of the uncertainty. Just last week, that was when I filmed the video, how I felt in that moment. And listening back to what I was saying and reflecting on how I feel this week I feel like life is fine. And I know, at the risk of sounding like I'm a roller coaster ride, but I think this is true for a lot of us, that we go through these tiny cyclical seasons, especially if you're a woman. We all know how our hormones affect us throughout our cycle. But even whomever it is, there are big seasons in life. Sometimes they span 5 years. And then there's little micro seasons that change day to day or week to week in how we feel. And last week, I was truly, really sitting and experiencing this fear of mortality, fear of uncertainty, just almost not paralyzed per se, but just really marinating in that sense of uncertainty. And this week, I find myself feeling trust, like I can surrender to an unknown. I don't know exactly what happened. I don't know. There are so many variables that could have caused this shift in me, but I guess I wanted to hop on here. I felt like I needed to, because if you are going through a moment where things are really, really intense and it almost feels like it'll never change or go away, I am the living proof of how vastly different I can feel just from last week to this week. I didn't do anything profound. Nothing had shifted fundamentally for me. Sometimes we just have to ride the waves. It sounds pretty obvious, but I think we forget when we're in a crunchy moment, when everything feels very intensified and dense, and we're going through something, we're deep in the soil, in the dirt. It almost feels like, oh, we'll never see the light of day, or we'll never see springtime. We're just in the thick of winter. But lo and behold, here I am watching myself editing the video, realizing how vastly different I feel today than I felt at the time. So again, if you are going through a crunchy time and you somehow clicked on this video and you're at this part, know that things can change depending on a multitude of factors, but you just take yourself one step at a time, one day at a time. And I think what's going to be really valuable is learning how to accept things as they are in this moment, and that it's harder done than said. It's easier said than done. But once you start witnessing enough of that cycle happen, you start paying attention to how vastly different you can feel one day to the next. It gives you a more accurate, factual, objective gauge on the next time you go through a moment that feels impossible to get out of, or a state of emotion or feeling or being that you feel like is too heavy to handle or too much to handle. Anyways, I just wanted to hop on and say that. Okay, back to regular programming. Because I haven't been thinking about my future, yet I've been quietly worrying about the uncertainty of what is going to happen, and at the same time not willing to go there to gain clarity. I was journaling this morning and I wrote, how could I reach a destination, or how could I carve out a path if I don't know my destination? So I oftentimes get in these paradoxes, as you can see, future thinking versus wanting to be present, wanting to improve myself versus learning self-compassion and acceptance. And I find myself in these dilemmas where I have to make peace somewhere. And that's kind of the joy and the fun and the frustration that I experience. The other day, I was at home in the evening and I decided to stretch on my yoga mat. I was listening to music and all of a sudden I just started crying. And I don't cry easily these days anymore. Remember, I don't access my feelings so easily, but I just started crying. And I just kept saying out loud, I'm afraid, I'm afraid, I'm afraid. And then I asked, what are you afraid of? I was afraid of an unknown future. I was afraid of not having a vision. And I was afraid of wanting to have a vision and not reaching that vision. I was afraid of wanting something and not allowing myself to admit it, thus not putting myself on the right path. And then I become paralyzed in all of this fear. And then that's when I came back on my mat and I just told myself, this is okay too. I can be with this too. I can hold this too. And so maybe you're familiar with this feeling too, this tug of war, this push and pull between things that may seem contradictory or a paradox. And you have to somehow find your peace, make peace somewhere between those things, and land and live and not get stuck, you know? Again, this was a very strange format compared to my previous videos, but I just felt so much pressure of needing to make the perfect video that was packed with nutrient, with value, that I just didn't do anything at all. So let me know your thoughts. Let me know if anything resonated with you. Let me know if there's anything on your mind that you've been curious about or that's been coming up for you. I love having discussions with you guys in the comments. And I hope I continue to not put so much pressure on the perfect output so that I can continue to share things that I've been experiencing, that I've learned, that I hope might help someone or make someone else feel less alone. And just remember to be just a little extra more kind with yourself. We're navigating a complex world and complex time. And all of us are standing in our own versions of confusion and paradoxes and question marks that feel like they don't have answers at the moment. But when we zoom out and when we look at things in hindsight, everything always does seem to have worked out or have happened for a reason, for a good reason. Anyways, it's getting darker and darker, so I'll end this video here. Let me know if you have any thoughts at all, and I'll see you next time.